Okay, in last week's episode, we have picked up my 1968 Sportster XLCH. Yeah, that's the business side. Right there. So let's get it home and let's see what we have in our hands here. Man, my heart's beating fast. I feel like I'm 21 again. We have, I think, for the most part, a bone stock 1968 XLCH here. It is in fantastic shape. Okay, now let's kind of zoom in a little bit. As you can see, it's got the stock oil lines on it. They're still in place. The stock black paint on the shocks, chain guard, swing arm, all the stock nuts and bolts, and it still has all traction. That cylinder rim, it's got that screwed rim too, and that came back in 1968 like that. This is a bone stock XLCH, my friends. This is what it's all about. It's a beautiful look, really nice bike here. Alright, just as I go down here, you can see back in 1968, you know, they came really crude and rude. You know, that's just, you know, that's how they made them. You know, just, I mean, they were raw like this. You know, they didn't have any chrome on the engines, but that's the way that I personally like it myself. It's got the original paint on the frame. Stock exhaust pipes, and as I'm going to the back of the bike here, I can tell it's got the stock factory paint on the back of the bike. Super nice. Now at some point someone put on a chrome kickstand, because the kickstands on these old Sportsters always crack off. Really nice. And as I'm going down on this side of the bike, it's got it has the stock paint, the stock chrome, the stock cad plating, stock paint on the oil tank there, stock paint on the engine, on the heads, the jugs. What a beautiful bike! Wow. Okay, this bike has about 12,000 miles on it. It's got let's see what it has here. It's got 12,373 miles on it since it was brand new back in 1968. Okay, last time this bike was on the road was back in 1986, long time ago, over 43 years ago, long time. Now at some point someone had changed out the front end of this bike. I don't know why, but everything on this bike is bone stock, and I can tell that it has not been touched, but someone did change out the front end of this bike. It's got the stock brake hubs on it, spokes. Nice shape too. Pipes, frame paint. What a beautiful motorcycle, wow. Okay, you know, before we go ahead and start this bike up, there are 1,000 things that I have to go through first. I am going to go through this bike from front to back and from side to side first. Okay, there is no way that I'm going to put fresh oil in it, fresh fuel, and then I'm going to try to start it. That's not the way that you do these things here. You have to go ahead very, very slow and do it step by step. So I'm going to take my time and I'll go through the bike and I'll inspect everything on the bike. We will inspect the front end. We'll inspect the brakes. We will bleed all the air out of the oil pump. And inspect the primary chain, inspect the fuel tank, inspect the oil tank. We are going to inspect everything on this bike before we even attempt to turn the key and to kickstart this thing over. I hope you guys tune in every single week, and we'll go through this bike until it comes to the point where I can turn the key and we can try to kickstart it for the very first time in over 34 years. Let's dive in. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do here is pull off the old fuel lines. They are as hard as a rock. I mean, they've been on the bike for, let's see, it's been about 55 years now. It's about that time to take them off and check them out. They are really on there too. Alright, just pull it right off like that, and I'll put a little heat on these things because they're so hard. And we'll just pull them right off, just like so. And I'll keep all these old parts. You know, now as I go through this bike, I'm not going to cut anything. I'm going to save every old part that is on this bike. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off the fuel tank. You know, I save all the nuts and bolts and I put them all back in the same place. So if I take off the fuel tank, I'll put the right bolts right back into the fuel tank, so I don't have them scattered around. Okay, I have a couple of spacers that are up in front of the fuel tank on the right hand side here, and there are two more spacers on the left side of the fuel tank, and I'll take these out. Let's lift off the gas tank and we'll get this out of the way. Alright, time to pull off the air filter, and we'll check this out next. Wow, look at this. It has the copper air filter still in it from 1968. This is blowing my mind over here. Wow, look at that. That is really something to see. I'm super happy with that. Alright, I'll pull off the backing plate. We'll get that out of the way next. Okay, the choke works nice and freely. This is a stock HD1C carburetor on this bike. That is what they used back in 1968. Okay, now I'm looking down the carburetor throat. It's nice and clean, actually. It's not even dirty. I don't see any dirt in there at all. It's nice and clean. This is old and hard line here, I tell you. This is really old. It's 55 years old. And it's hard as a rock. It's really something else. Check it out. (1968). All right, now I'll take off the choke. Inside the carburetor, I will disconnect the throttle cable here and get that out of the way. I don't think this carburetor has ever been off this motorcycle. You know, now I worked on a lot of older bikes and a lot of old cars before. And, you know, when you work on these things, they actually begin to reveal themselves. As I'm starting to work on this bike right here, everything I do on this bike is screaming out to me that there is not a lot of miles on it. You know, you can tell as I'm taking this bike apart, I'm looking at all the nuts and bolts, the screws. They don't have any wrench wear marks on them. So crisp, and they're so like new. All right, and that's what we have here. We have a HD1C carburetor, and that's what they put on these bikes back in 1968. And it's nice and clean inside too. Wow, it's just really nice inside this carburetor. It's not a gunk or anything like that. It's nice and clean. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to clean the dirt on the outside of the carburetor, and I'll take it apart, check it out, and I'll put it right back on the bike again. I'm going to clean off the top here and pull out the grease and dirt off the top of the mag cap right here. I am going to pull off the mag cap, and I really believe that this is going to be the first time it's been pulled off since about 1968. So I would love to see what's inside this Magneto. Okay, what's inside this old thing here? Let's just check it out. Pull this cap off. A little bit tight on there as well. So I'm going to gently just give it a couple of taps on the sides of it. Okay, it's really stiff, this old the gasket on here is really old. It's really stiff. It's okay, the cap's in great shape, and I'm looking down here inside the Magneto. It's really super clean in here, and I can tell it has original points set in here, the original coil, and everything in the Magneto looks great. Okay, alright, now this is the very first time that I'm getting into the oil tank here. And so we'll check this out. Wow, look at this. It's all the way down. It's really all the way down the stick here. I mean, it looks pretty clean actually, but it looks old at the same time. And believe me, it smells old too. Now, what I think here is that throughout the years, that all the oil sumped down from the oil tank all the way down to the engine crankcase. So this is the reason why when you get an old bike, that you just don't start it up. You got to check everything out. Okay, here I have a stuck clutch, and the bike sat for about 34 years, so everything on this bike is really stiff. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to tap right here on the end of the clutch rod, and I'll just lightly tap it, and I'm going to pull up on the clutch at the same time, and I'll keep on doing this, and it's just starting to move now. Okay, I'm just kind of lightly tapping it, and I'm just going to pull up at the same time, and it's just now starting to move. Sticky clutch plates, you know, and they're starting to move now. But if you sat for about 34 years, I think you would be stiff too. I mean, these are really, really stiff plates here. They are beginning to move a little bit here, so I'm going to keep on tapping on this clutch rod just really, really lightly, and just keep on going with it, and see if I can get it free. Yeah, they are starting to move now. I'll just keep on going with it. Now, when I first got this bike home, I couldn't twist the twist grip. The twist grip, it was frozen solid because of all of the grease inside. Turned into a rock. And I had to take it apart and had to chip all that grease out of there. I mean, it turned to stone, actually. Alright, now it's starting to free up a little bit here. And now I can pull up the clutch all the way. Stay tuned for part 3. Like and subscribe. Not bad. More to come. Thank you for watching.